Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we are here for another episode of Friday Classics, so let's get into it. Well, good morning or good evening everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the classic books that I have read. And today we are here to talk about Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and I am doing these the Bronte sisters as a group read over on Maria from Read Fine Books, her Discord, and we've been doing this, I think we started in September or October of last year. We started with Jane Eyre and we've just been slowly working through it. In February we will be reading Angus Grey. Yes, Angus Grey, just had to think then. We'll be reading that, and so you will hear my thoughts about that in another episode. But as I said, today we are here to talk about Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. This book was absolutely amazing to me. You know, after reading it and doing a little bit further exploration of the book and everything like that, a lot of people say that it is like one of the first pieces of literature, feminist literature, and I would have to agree with that. Just the tones of the book and what the book was about, and the topics that it covered, and the female character, main female protagonist in it, and what she was going through, definitely had all those, definitely leans it towards a feminist piece of literature. So basically this was published in 1848, and I have my copy here, which is a Penguin Classics, and this particular edition actually has 400 and, including footnotes and whatnot, has 542 pages. The actual story itself is 489 pages. The text in this one is a decent size. It's not too bad. Absolutely enjoyed reading it. I also listened along with it as well. So what is the book about? The book basically is, I've got some notes here. The book is set in the early 19th century. It is following the story of Helen Graham, and the story is told by her neighbour, I believe he is, Gilbert Markham, and he is the main narrator of the book. But we learn about Helen and her story through a series of flashbacks. Now, Helen is portrayed as a mysterious young widow that has moved to the abandoned dwelling of Wildfell Hall, and upon moving there she meets Gilbert, and then he's, you know, telling her story. Now, as I said, we are learning about her journey and what she's gone through a series of flashbacks, and they are flashbacks to her marriage to her husband, and the abuse that she endured with him, the infidelity, the alcoholism, and just general not niceties, not being nice at all. So I found her character to be very complex. She was multifaceted. She had strengths. She had her weaknesses. She made some questionable decisions at times, but as you're going through the story, you're learning about her and her reasons why that she did this. And it was not only to protect herself, but it was also to protect her son, who I think he's about 5, maybe 6 at the time of the story being told, when she arrives at Wildfell Hall. And you know, sometimes you just forget those little details, but I think he was around that age. He came across to be around about that age. And so, you know, Helen's very mysterious, doesn't want to sort of socialize or anything like that, won't let her son go and be with anybody except on Sundays when she goes to church. And yeah, there's just little things like that. So that adds to the mystery of her character. And of course, it gets the townspeople's tongues wagging, and there's gossip and speculation and all that sort of stuff. And Gilbert sort of takes it upon himself to find out more. And that's why he's telling the story. But we do get her point of view, because when we do the flashbacks, it is from her point of view. And yeah, so she's just and we learn more and more about her as the story goes on, and the things that she's gone through, and as I said, why she made the decisions that she's made. And it's mostly to protect her son, because she does not want her son to grow into a man like her husband. And like, quite frankly, he treated her quite poorly, just leaving her for months at a time, and but then at the same time, like, messing with her head. Like, the way I felt, it was like he'd write these letters and say that he was coming home, so she was always expecting him to come home, and he'd never turn up, and it'd be months at a time, and all that sort of stuff. Like, even though she's a strong character, but she's flawed at the same time. Like, she's not a perfect character. She's not morally grey or anything like that. She's just a little bit flawed. Like, as I said, she makes questionable decisions, and there was a couple of times in the book I've just gone, really? You're going to do what? And I'd sit the book down and go, interesting. I don't think I would have made that decision. As I said, I really love the book, and I've given it a 4-star rating. It has gone down in the rating a little bit. It was a 5-star rating for a while, but when I got to the end, I marked it down a bit. And even still, it's probably more of a 3.5 than a 4. For my enjoyment, it bumped it up to a 4. It's close to Jane Eyre. Like, I really enjoyed Jane Eyre, but it's close to that, and the more I think about it, the closer it's getting to that first spot. But it's a close second, definitely a close second. Some of the things that I think people will have problems with the book is the fact that it is talking about alcoholism, infidelity, general abuse. Now, I don't think that there was just the general portrayal of men's bad behaviour and whatnot. But what brings that book back, brings it back, is the fact that Helen has made this decision, and she's standing up for herself, and she's saying, no, this is not acceptable. I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to take a different path, and damn the consequences. And basically, so she leaves her husband, and we know this pretty early in the book, but it just follows that storyline of, all the things that she's going to have to go through, and what society is going to think of her, and all that sort of stuff it covers. And as I said earlier, I totally agree with people saying that it's a piece of feminist literature because of that content. I really enjoyed it. And I don't think I've actually read, not that I've read a lot of classics, but most of the classics that you read where there's not the talk of a woman leaving her husband and forging a life for herself or anything like that. So this was quite surprising. I wasn't expecting it at all. It sort of come out of left field for me, really, because I wasn't expecting it to be depicted this way. And so it was quite refreshing to read a book that was published all those years ago that is quite relevant. It was relevant then, and it's still relevant now, the contents in it and whatnot. But as I said, there are things that bring it down a little bit. The ending of the book was a little bit open-ended for me. I just didn't feel like I got it. Not that I wanted it wrapped up in a nice little bow or anything like that. I just felt it wasn't a strong ending. It was still good, but it just wasn't a strong ending for me. So that let it down a little bit. Some of the decisions she made were a little bit questionable, and that sort of brought it down a little bit for me as well. But overall, it was a really good book. And if you're interested in classic books, then I suggest that you pick this up and read it. You will be really surprised at how much you will enjoy this book. The only other thing that I say that was a little bit of a negative was the descriptions in the book went on a little bit but a lot of classics do, prattle on a little bit about that sort of stuff. But overall, it was a fabulous book, and I think that this will definitely go on to a reread for me. Maybe not in the next 6 or 7 months or whatever, or even in the next 12 months. But it is definitely a book that I'd like to revisit in a couple of years or something like that. But I think that if you haven't read any of the Bronte sisters, I would probably start with this. I just really enjoyed the fact that it was written a little bit differently. You know, it's still a classic. It still has a lot of words and, you know, goes on a little bit and whatnot. But for the most part, it was a pretty good story. It wasn't... It was... Yeah. Just pick it up, read it. That's all I can say. I'm just going to keep repeating myself here. The more I think about it, the more I know that I enjoyed it, the more I know that some of you out there are going to absolutely love it. But that is my review on The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. It is a 3.5, bordering on a 4. Let's go 3.75, shall we? 3.75 star rating from me. It is second place out of all the books that I've read from the Bronte sisters so far, with Jane Eyre being the best so far. But that is it for me today. Now, if you have made it this far, please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up as well. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell to all notifications, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future posts. And as always, keep turning those pages, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.